Oh yeah, watch. Okay. MagikarpUsedFly.
Now, I'm a pretty big fan of the auto chess genre. Dota 2's auto chess mod was amazing, and I sunk way too much time into it. I'm talking like over 100 hours in like
What a fucking casual. What the? Only 100?
the span of a week. So when I heard that Riot was making their own auto chess genre game, or auto battler, or whatever the fuck it's called now, I was extremely excited. And for the most part, I really like Teamfight Tactics. Like, I really enjoy it a lot. There's a lot that the game did right, but there's also some things that I feel like the game did wrong. But regardless,
that's in 1 week? Okay.
this is the auto chess game that I enjoy the most. Because I'm not a really big fan of Dota Underlords, mostly because it looks like a mobile game, probably because it is. To tell you the truth, I am 100% addicted to the Teamfight Tactics game mode, and I wanted to make a spotlight for it, but after thinking it over, it wouldn't make sense because the game is still not completed. It's still in quote-unquote beta. Just like how I am, quote-unquote, happy. And just like my life, there's a bunch of problems in TFT, and that's what this video is going to focus on. Mind you, there's also a lot of amazing things right here.
Alright, hold on. This is a 12-minute video? Oh my god. We need to watch this, like, hold up. We need to watch this, like 1.5 CC.
With this game that makes it good, but there's also a lot that I think they need to fine tune. So there'll be another part of this video talking about everything they did right in the game, but for now, these are the things that I find fundamentally wrong with Teamfight Tactics. Granted, I'm just a lowly Diamond 4 player, so, you know, I'm kind of like just an average Joe Schmo like the rest of you, so, you know, take that as you will. Things that I find fundamentally wrong with Teamfight Tactics. Lose streaks are they are god awful. Taking what the kids call nowadays the L in the beginning of the game is almost a sure sign that you're going to struggle throughout the entire game, just because the damage in Teamfight Tactics is so goddamn fucking high. Okay, first of all, in order to gain a win or loss streak in TFT, you need to win or lose 2 games in a row to gain gold off of the streak, going up to a max of 3 gold, right? Now, this might sound fine, except the damage that you take in this game is so high that loss streaks are not worth it at all. Compared to other games in its genre, the amount of damage you take in Teamfight Tactics is insane. I mean, it's not uncommon for you to drop a match to someone and go from 70 health all the way down to 40. It's ridiculous. Hey, okay, everyone, raise your hands if you've gotten to Wolves and you're at like 40 health and you're just thinking to yourself, huh, I suck dick. In Underlords or auto chess, I would always tell my friends, you know, don't worry if you're in last place because you can always get back in it. You can be completely fine because health is a resource in those games. And that's kind of like what auto chess is. You can sacrifice your health in order to gain more money and take damage so you can get a better late game composition. But in Teamfight Tactics, if you drop low enough, it is extremely dangerous. Sometimes I'll get down to 60 health and I'm just like, well, 8th place, here I come. It's like playing against Ganondorf. You get to like 50%, you're just like, wow, I'm in kill range. You don't even gain any kind of real payoff from a loss streak. People are going to be hitting the same level as you most of the time, and even if you do get to 50 gold at a pretty healthy life point, the other players who have been win streaking that entire time are probably going to be stronger than you because they hit their level spike faster and were able to get to the higher cost units before you could. And because of loss streaks being so terrible, the only strategy you have in the game is to play aggressively. And you know, maybe some people like how fast the game goes, but in a genre where we're building a strong composition based on RNG, you have to be able to find a happy medium at the very least. Regular auto chess games like in Dota 2's mod could last for like 40 to 50 minutes, and I fucking loved it. In TFT, you're looking at about 20 to 30 minutes per game, and that's also adding in the time for carousel rounds, which kind of feel like it's mostly just there to pad the timer to make the game feel like it lasts longer, but you know, whatever. Yeah, maybe 1 to 4 losses is okay at times, but anything after that, you need to start changing up your build because you're probably going to end up in 7th or 8th place by that point. And I understand open forting is becoming more accessible, but it's also pretty dangerous if you get down to 20 to 30 health without finding key parts to a build. How important items are. Not for
Okay, so because I don't want to just watch the whole video and then react at the end for 5 seconds and have you consider this content on my stream. I think that loss streaks are much more punishing in this game. The main reason why is because the average player can't, and even the experienced player can't pivot fast enough around loss streaks. Like the game itself right now is balanced around you being able to pivot 40 gold in a round. And I think loss streaks are good if that's the case. But the problem is no one's that good. Like I watch a lot of top players, and for the most part, like most of the players at the very top can do like 30 gold in 1 round. And that's like, they've been playing like non-stop to like rank 1 fucking top 10 challenger players. A lot of them like don't have the speed to be able to do more than 30 gold. And if you're coming back from a loss streak and you have to kind of work around a lot of different compositions and you're pivoting and you're like trying to find one that's open but also something that the game gives you, I can see like casual players, like I have watched casual players play the game. Like when I watch like some of my roommates play that aren't toast play this game, and they like spend a lot more time thinking about like, okay, well, like this unit can be put here and this unit can be put here and this unit can be put here, but then what about this unit? And then like the time slowly takes away from the round from them, and they're spending like maybe 10 10 gold or like 20 gold that round, that and a round where they need to be spending 30 to 40 gold to stabilize. And so I think, yeah, it is definitely a problem. One of the things that they can do to alleviate this is when they ended up adjusting lose sprees and win sprees, I think that they should not have put in well, one, I think fundamentally it's difficult to balance because at the top end I think lose streaks are somewhat balanced a little bit, but let's just say ignoring that, I think they shouldn't have rewarded win streaking as much. They should have adjusted it so win streaks go up or don't change, and lose streaks are better slightly by comparison. So when they did the streaking adjustment to where like you streak off like one less win or one less loss, if they didn't touch win streaks, I think that it would have been better for the game. Okay, let's keep going.
First glance, having such an important,
and I think the game itself, that sells itself on being a party game, shouldn't have, like, you should be able to, if you're good, roll 40 gold in one round, but the necessity of you having to roll that much in one round to make a loss streak work is, I feel bad. Like, I'm a person that like on a good day can roll 30 gold, but like I wouldn't want that to be the norm for people, because like for a party game, like if a party game needs you to be that good, like no, you're not. The guy who's losing or the girl who's losing isn't gonna have fun, you know? And especially because this game mode is supposed to be like a Mario Party type party game, like that's probably not something
items is great, and I think that's what makes TFT so unique. Being able to create so many different and impactful items in the game is awesome, and being able to figure out what items you need for specific.
Whoa, what the fuck? What was that? Hello? Whoa, where's my credit? What the hell? This is mine, right?
Many different and impactful items in the game is awesome, and being able to figure out what items you need for specific units or to help you fight different comps is a great addition to the auto chess genre. However, that's also a huge problem because items can really make or break your comp, which means item RNG is huge. I think we can all agree that the item RNG is annoying, but I don't think that the item RNG is what's inherently wrong, because if everyone got the same amount of items all the time, it would make the game kind of stale. You would see the same stuff all the time. I don't think that that's the problem. What's wrong is that the items are so important to the game that that's what makes the item RNG feel like shit, because character synergy is great, but synergy doesn't mean shit if you don't have items. You know, maybe if the characters weren't complete dog shit, you know, not having items wouldn't feel that bad, but because characters aren't inherently strong, items mean everything in this game. You can have a strong composition like your nobles, glacial rangers, gunslingers, void brawlers, wild brawlers, anything with Draven or whatever the fuck the meta is at the moment, but if your characters don't have the right items, your units are practically useless. In fact, a 3-star unit with no items basically does almost nothing for your team, unless maybe it's, you know, a tier 5 unit. Oh my god, and don't even get me started with the Recurve bow, the holy trinity item that everyone goes for because it's so goddamn good. As a general rule of thumb, I believe that the person who was able to get the most amount of Recurve bows in a game is probably going to win, you know, unless you're building like some type of sorcerer comp. Phantom Dancer, Rapid Fire Cannon, Ginsu's, Shrink Ray, Static Shift, all of them are really...
I think items in this game are a problem, and the variance on the items needs to be adjusted. I think there should be not a situation where one day, I think it was yesterday, or the day before yesterday, I had a really bad openers. Like I lost every game that day. I had two games where I had the one item opener into the 5 gold at Krugs, which is just terrible. Like that should be such a... That shouldn't be possible, to be honest. I had one time where I got that, and I got one item on the next 2 creep rounds into a round or stage 5, and I just lost the game because I'm literally there being like, how the fuck do I win when I'm at like a 4 item disadvantage to everyone else? 4 or 5 actually. That was like the stupidest game I played. And it never happened before, so I really remember that game, right? Because I was just in disbelief. I think I even placed 3rd that game. It was like super fortunate I was able to do that. I think the variance shouldn't be that high. I think they do need to buff 1 gold 3 item openers, they need to buff 1 item openers to at least give you more gold to work with for those openers. I think that opener is very, very bad. It feels awful, and you're getting that opener probably a 3rd to a 4th of your games. If you're watching like top level players, like I watched Saint play the tournament today. He placed 8th place the first game, and it was just like he got no items. Like everything went wrong for him. The next game he gets 1 more item, and like all his rolls stabilized. He gets 1st place, and I'm just like, and he literally was like, that's the difference 1 item makes. And like obviously he's kidding, but like I think if you at the very least got 1 or 2 more gold for the 1 item opener, it would help a lot. Like a lot. I'm actually completely okay with the 9 gold openers. 0 items actually feels great to me. It feels like nice, refreshing. I can do a lot of cool stuff with it. Other stuff doesn't feel very good.
good items to put on your carries. I mean, in order for units to gain mana,
I also think the item strength in this game makes the game somewhat appealing. I would be okay with toning down the overall item strength in the game, and I think that Recurve bow is problematic only in one area. And the biggest problem is that the inherent nature of the game is that Recurve is the only item that increases mana generation on your units. Your damage done doesn't through BF or your AD doesn't increase the amount of damage you gain. Similar to what happens, or reduce it, similar to what happens in Dota Auto Chess. So the base items are not balanced around mana gain, which is why Recurve feels so much more powerful as a default item than others. And to compensate for that, your itemization that you get from the other items are sometimes extremely powerful. Stuff like GA is probably the best. Honestly, I would probably say GA is the best item in the game. It's actually so stupid. Builds off of BF, and BF value is super high right now. It's like right under Recurve, right? And then there's a lot of cool stuff you can do with like large rod that's very, very powerful, and even tier. But a lot of the items are like super overtuned because of the inherent fact that they can't increase or decrease your inherent mana generation.
Have to auto attack stuff, and when you give them an item that lets you auto attack stuff faster, they can use their abilities faster. Damn, what? Who would have guessed that one? Oh man, there's still some.
Yeah, and so like in Dota Auto Chess, if you negated damage, you would still gain the mana, and they would gain less mana. So like I would say stuff like Knights, for instance. In this game, it actually ends up somewhat working that way on the defensive side of things. But from an offensive side of things, it feels like it's not very...
It all depends on whether you get them or not. Graves with no items, garbage. Graves with red buff and an RC, fuck yeah, give me that shit. Fiora with no items, garbage. Fiora with a Ginsu's rapid fire cannon and an Infinity Edge, still garbage. Just why give her any... She is just get her out of the game. The same fucking builds. This game suffers from what League of Legends has. People are going to rush the same type of build with the same characters as much as they can because they're the strongest builds, which is understandable, you know, seeing as if they're the strongest builds, why wouldn't anyone use them? There's nothing inherently wrong with that. I mean, you know, if there's a strong deck in something like Yu-Gi-Oh! Or Hearthstone, almost everyone is going to run it. The problem here is that in this game, there's usually one build that is the strongest, and then everything else is just mediocre. Do you guys remember when Elemental Ninja Assassins were the strongest build in the game and everyone was running it? The only counter was building a Volibear comp, and so the entire game was just who could rush the two builds the fastest, which ended up being extremely horrible. So then they nerfed Assassins, but then Demons became strong, and then everyone was rushing for Morgana and Kennen. Now Nobles is the strongest comp, and everyone is trying to be the first to get a 2-star kill. It's the exact same concept, just changed to different characters, which is what really makes this game feel super RNG based. Let's take Auto Chess as an example. In that game, there's about 10 different classes you can run and 13 different races. In Teamfight Tactics, we've got 10 different classes and 14 different origins, but the problem is with the origins, because it says 14, but really it's more like 9. Robot and Exile are only One Piece origins, and Dragon, Hextech, and Phantom are Splash origins. So all 5 of them don't really add much variety to the game, meaning you're going to see the same builds and the same characters over and over again, because you can't build a comp based around Exiles, Robots, or Dragons and Hextechs. You can add them to your already existing team, but it's not like it's going to drastically change the overall comp that you're building. So Riot can keep nerfing and buffing classes, but the problem is still going to stay the same until they start adding in more origins.
I'm gonna do something that I'm gonna listen to the rest of his argument before making a statement.
Classes, and they have to be origins that aren't just splash characters. Like the new Hextech class is a splash origin, just like Phantom and Elementals are. It's not a class that you build your comp around, it's just something that you try to fit into whatever comp you're running. And speaking of the Hextech class, let's talk about the Hextech class, because oh my god, oh Jesus Christ, dude, oh my god, dude, I hate Hextech. Oh my god. You know, a lot of people complain about glacials, which I really don't understand because glacials aren't really a big deal. I feel like the only people who complain about glacials are people who primarily only run a Draven or Brawlers comp. But Hextech, oh, fuck, that class is straight up bullshit. You can work around them by moving your units and spreading them around, but whenever a unit gets Hextech, they become significantly weaker no matter who it lands on. The reason why you get a Kennen is because he utilizes Morellonomicon so well, but now it's gone for 8 seconds? 8 fucking seconds? Are you kidding me? The entire idea of stacking items on a carry, which is probably what you're going to try to do because not every champion in this game deserves items. I'm looking at you, Mordekaiser. So you put your items on the character that use them well, but then you get Hextech, and it's completely up to the gods on whether or not it's going to hit your 2-star Draven with RFC, BT, and PD, or your swing with GA, Dragon's Claw, and Saris.
Okay, let me try to. Okay, so I think I kind of agree with the fact that some of the races and classes are like they don't feel like that there's that much
splash character.
It feels very constrained in terms of comps you can build, and a lot of that is because due to the nature of the strength of certain things crowding out other things. It feels like there's not a lot of synergies that you can slot in as situational synergies against other compositions. So if you look at the other auto chess, you had like the Naga class, which is what you would use if there's a lot of mages, and you would run goblins if there's a lot of physical damage. And then you'd run I don't know, mages if you ran into a bunch of other stuff, elementals the counter melees, stuff like that, where it feels like in general like the items counter the comps as opposed to the compositions themselves. Outside that maybe dragon, I'll give you that. I'll give you the fact that dragon hard counters like a lot of damage, mage oriented stuff. But for the most part, like I think the problem here is like the relative strength of the synergies isn't balanced enough. And I told you about a week ago that they would need about 3 weeks to balance the game. Because right now, like they're still kind of struggling to figure out everything, and I've been pretty tame on calling them out about it, because I think generally speaking, I feel like they've done a good job week after week. Like even in this current meta, which is like very noble based, it's pretty annoying, but like it's still like makes sense. And I think that the introduction of Void is a good example of a way to counter a certain thing. You know, like Void should do technically pretty well into nobles, or things that stack a lot of defensive stats. And I think that like that's not a bad thing, you know, unless it's super dominant. Now, my biggest problem with the game is the fact that like a lot of the synergies aren't balanced. Like nobles should not be giving full MR and armor values to both resists, or it should be giving you half of one, you know, or like 0 of one, because like it should be more situational than brute forcing it every fucking game. 6 Yordle sucks ass, because the way that Yordle dodge works is they generate mana if you dodge. It doesn't work that way in Delta Auto Chess, which is why Elves was a top tier comp. If they just changed that, Yordles would be a lot better. However, the frustration of playing against Yordles might be a lot worse as well. Not really sure what to say about that, but Yordles are pretty much unplayable at 6 right now. I think the synergy itself needs work. Moving on, 6 mages is really hard to stabilize with, and I think that's generally okay. I don't mind that 6 mages is hard to stabilize with. I don't mind that at all. Similar to how 6 assassins is hard to stabilize with. But I think 6 mages is probably one of the most balanced compositions, because you can end up going 6 mages in situations where it feels, I would say, more possible late game. And I think that that's probably one of the better ones, where it's situational, but it's also promising, especially if you hit Yumi or Karthus. What else? 6 assassins feels great, but then there's huge pathing issues with playing assassins, where even 3 will stick on each other in a corner, and it just feels awful playing more than 3. So the best comps in the game usually only run 3 assassins, because you can't even create enough space with 4 to do anything, or 6 to do anything. So like there's inherently a lot of problems with the synergies right now, where like you can't even build the synergies out correctly outside of nobles, right, or brawlers. And Wild is another great option of a synergy that sucks ass, because they've never been able to realize why Wild sucks. And they keep over buffing Wild on the individual units, but the Wild buff is still gonna suck. The reason why Wild's not good is because the game is balanced around, you know, like having 5 to 7 units, 5 to 8 units. Well, if you're getting 4 Wild, at 4, that means 4 of your units aren't getting buffed, because 4 Wild is no different than 2 Wild for their respectively. So like there's no additional buff for Wild, even though there's an additional buff for every other synergy in the game. So if they just nerfed the Wild units but buffed, like, you know, putting in 4 Wild, so they would gain, you know, additional stacks or something else, Wild would be a much more appealing synergy. And I'm actually surprised they haven't done that. So like Wild units being weak late doesn't matter, but like it doesn't matter as much. It's like the Wild units themselves are incredibly powerful. Nidalee, Ahri 2 is literally the best 2-star unit in the game. You know, Nidalee, one of the best 1-star units in the game. The problem is like when you get to 4 Wild, it's no different than getting to 2 Wild, right? And so it makes it so like when people run 4 Wild compositions, you laugh at them. You're like, ha, this guy was stupid enough to build this. Outside of the one specific Wild Sorcerer Shapeshifter composition, for the most part, you just think that it's stupid if anyone ever does it. So like I think inherently they still have a lot of balance issues with their synergies, on top of the fact that there's a little bit less synergies to work with. So it's like, yeah, that's why the games feel a little bit more stale, in my opinion, especially if there's a super dominant ultra endgame thing like nobles, for instance, which are straight up like you can't kill them with armor MR buff regardless what your composition is, unless you super high roll Void sorcerers or get 6 sorcerers in. Then yeah, like that's in my opinion, the problem. Not so much the synergies, having the quantity of synergies, although that does help. It's the actual synergies themselves not being
Like the
good.
new Hextech class is
Not to mention 4 Hextech is just unbelievably like impossible to get, and 2 Hextech is too strong. 8 seconds probably should be like first time I played it, 5-second synergy. Next, please. Okay, thank you. And then that's all I've said.
Just speaking
right?
of the Hextech, people complain about class is significantly for 8 seconds. No matter who it fucking seconds in this game deserves to the gods on whether or not it's going to hit your 2-star Draven with RFC, BT, and PD, or your swing with GA, Dragon's Claw, and Scarra.
It's not impossible to get, but it only fits into any comp. I mean, of course, that's what I meant.
I have a Sejuani on his team. I'll put a GA on her. Cannon, I'm going to put GA, Morello, and a Redemption. Or your swing with GA. You get Hextech, and it's completely up to the gods on whether or not it's going to hit your 2-star Draven with RFC, BT, and PD, or your swing with GA, Dragon's Claw, and Saris. I have a Sejuani on his team. I'll put a GA on her. Cannon, I'm going to put GA, Morello, and a Redemption on him. Twisted Fate. All right, let's put a Rapid Fire Cannon and a Shiv on him. That'll be great. Morgana, I'd like to put a GA on her too. And so I spread my items out, but then because of Hextech, I have to spread my characters apart, which then feels like crap. So then that means that you spread out your units in super awkward positions, which then makes you vulnerable to almost any other person that you're playing against. It's the definition of an unfun, uncontrollable game mechanic. You have to compromise your own positioning and item placement just in case you go up against someone who put Hextech into their comp. At least with Phantom, it only affects one character. In Glacial, you can have a front line so your backline can deal damage. But Hextech, you have to literally change everything for the sake of hoping your key champions don't become useless. And if you get a bad early game start with no items, you're just fucked. It's a bullshit mechanic that should not be in the game at all. Or if anything, at the very least, disable only one item or disable the items for a shorter amount of time. Because for 8 seconds, usually by that time, one of your characters for the game is actually doing a really good job. And it's exciting to see the patches come out at a steady pace with new content being added. Teamfight Tactics, to me, is like when I first fell in love with League of Legends. I was completely mesmerized by the game and learning everything I possibly can about it. So now that the company is taking this mode seriously, it makes me feel like I'm back to being truly, really excited about a video game again. Hey, Riot Games, keep them coming. The MMO, when's the MMO coming out? What about, dude, the fighting game? Bring it on, come on. Come on, I'm ready to consume. And that's pretty much it. What do you guys think? What are things that you guys dislike about it? I don't know if you guys like TFT content. I'll see you guys in the next video.
But what's up, Matt? You might be down on yourself all the time.
Yeah, that's my general thoughts about his video. And it's not like I've been holding on to these thoughts for a while. There's stuff that accrue over time, and when I talk about it, because I get the luxury of experience of like playing at a somewhat high level and like a lot of feedback from watching streams and just in general from talking to people, I can then present to you something that sounds very good. Like I'm sure when I present ideas to you, you're like, oh, this guy's somewhat intelligent. I would subscribe to his newsletter. I can't believe Riot doesn't subscribe as well. Stuff like that. But like, it's not something that comes out of nowhere, right? Like I would say the statements that I ended up making off the video are something that I've been maybe thinking or dwelling on over the last week or two. It's something that I've only really stabilized relatively. Why did I say stabilize? Holy shit, that's okay. Anyways, something I relatively thought of the last like couple of days.